Chief Fisk was born and raised in Waldorf, Oregon, which is a coastal mountain range, and his parents were involved with the U.S. Forestry Service. While his dad never served in the military, he was involved in World War II with watching for the Japanese firebombs and submarines off the Oregon coast. Now, the Fisk family originally was from Vermont, and they had come to Oregon via the Oregon Trail in the 1800s. So they had a very strong sense of homesteading in Oregon. Likewise, they also had a very strong sense of Americanism and patriotism. Very early on, Wayne Fisk was taught that he was going to have to pay his dues in order to live under the umbrella of freedom in America. And he took that very seriously. So when the family relocated to Ketchikan, Alaska, he joined the Civil Air Patrol. And when he did that, he got a great sense of wanting to be involved with search and rescue, which drove him later in his military career to want to be a pararescueman. But in 1963, when he graduated from high school, he got a Senate-appointed position to the U.S. Air Force Academy. And he turned it down. His mom had gotten a rare form of cancer, and so that sense of loyalty to the family was very strong. They moved back to Oregon, and he stayed with the family while she went through her cancer treatments. She did eventually pass away in 1966, and at that point he decided to join the military. Now, he really wanted to be a Marine, and so he went to the Marine recruiter, but they had a sign in their door that said that they were closed for lunch. And right next door was the Air Force recruiter, and they were open. And so he went into the Air Force recruiter, joined the Air Force, and by 1967, he was a pararescueman. Throughout his entire career, he said he was a Marine trapped in a blue uniform. In 1967, he gets his first assignment to Thailand, and shortly after that, he gets stationed in Bermuda at Kindley Air Force Base and is involved in the search and rescue operations for Apollo 8, Apollo 9, and Apollo 10. And while he thought what he was doing with the Apollo missions was important, he really wanted to get back to the war effort in Southeast Asia. So he traded orders with another military member that was married and had children, went back to Southeast Asia, and then was very heavily involved with the Sante raids. And in that mission, special operators from all of the sister services were involved with going into the Sante camp, where they had about 55 American POWs. The night that they went, those POWs had been moved. That POW camp was only about 23 miles from the Hanoi Hilton, so it was definitely a dangerous mission set. And the POWs had been moved about 6 miles west. Now, Chief Fisk and those special operators that went in to rescue the POWs, they felt like the mission was a failure. But if you talk to Vietnam POWs from that era, they say no, absolutely not. That mission was a huge success because they had boosted morale. They knew the Americans were coming, and they knew that their nation hadn't forgotten them. So for his actions during the Sante raids, he earns his first Silver Star. Now, in 1972 through 74, he becomes a tech school instructor for the pararescue school in Utah. But after 74, he really wants to go back to Southeast Asia. And so he gets orders in 1975 back to the Southeast Asia region. And there he becomes involved with the rescue mission of the Marines during the hijacking of the USS Mayaguez. Now, he is the last person credited with being boots on the ground, engaged in enemy combat in the Southeast Asia conflict. And the reason for that is he hoisted up that last Marine into his Jolly Green, and then he was the last one up off the beaches. For that, he receives a second Silver Star. Now, shortly after that, he's nominated for 10 Outstanding Young Men of America. In 1980, he's received that award with the boxer Larry Holmes. Also in 1980, he receives a new assignment to the Senior NCO Academy at Gunter Airfield. And the reason for that was he had been involved with a parachute accident, and so he had some medical issues that he was working through. So he comes to Gunter to be a Senior NCO Academy instructor, and also becomes the catalyst for making sure that the Enlisted Heritage Hall Museum is developed. And that initially started next door at the Senior NCO Academy. But by 1986, it was moved into the building that it currently is in, and he becomes the first director of the Enlisted Heritage Hall. After his term at the Enlisted Heritage Hall, he becomes an attaché to the embassy in Ottawa, Canada, and ends up retiring from the Air Force in 1993. He's got an amazing storyline when you think about the fact that he was involved with the missions with the Apollo 8, 9, and 10, as well as the Sante raids and the USS Mayaguez. But he's also known for being the father of the green feet tattoo that the pararescuemen still get to this day.